and Fiona, are you bit of a baptism of fire? But this will ease you in gently, okay?
Dave.
Yeah.
Now, before we start, obviously, I've been reading two parts. But now, of course, I'm only reading Stanley.
Yeah.
So, obviously, to distinguish between the two parts, I was wearing a hat, and I was doing a Brummy voice for one, and a kind of a Brummy voice for one, and a kind of more Northern Lancashire voice for another. So, would you like me to continue with the Lancashire voice on the basis that that's the character I'm playing, and that it will go along with the other episodes?
Wise,
or would you prefer Stanley to be Brummy?
Cody, how's your Brummy?
Mine?
Cody.
Cody.
Cody, frozen.
Yeah, we.
Oh, you're all right there. You're back.
Tom's a cheap cat and he doesn't have any internet.
Dan's watching Netflix in the other room, so he's I think monopolising the bandwidth.
Oh no, Tom! I've got an echo of you because I can hear you first, and then I can hear you.
You got to go out, Cody. You got to leave. You got to go far away.
Go to the kitchen.
Do you want to do it on the same computer? On the same computer?
Just do it on the same computer.
She's so pissed.
Who?
He's gone to sleep.
He's gone to sleep. Both of them. Both of them.
Could he wake up?
And Tom.
Cody, mate.
Also, can I just say that Cody, very much like Tom and Anne, has lived with people from Birmingham for several years. So
I haven't lived with people from Birmingham for more than a couple of months tops.
Yeah.
Tom and Cody should be way better than me.
yours should be good.
What was that, love? Got me off.
Huh?
Zip it.
Excuse me.
All right, Betty.
Don't tell me what to do. All right. Betty Jenkins.
All right. Why don't you go, Tom? Go on your 4G.
We are both squashed into a little.
Yeah, I could do that. Hopefully, let's see how it is. Cody's disconnected now, so we're going to do it on the same computer.
Okay, mate.
So this one we've got a signature tune, and if it's rubbish, then we won't ever do it again. We got a little signature tune that, if it works, whenever you hear it, you'll think of Weird William.
Training us.
Although actually, Coco.
And there's just a sort of 6-7 second where it says, what's it say, Paula, on the things? Scene music.
Scene changing music. I'm in charge of music.
Yeah, and
Go on, Paula. Paula P.
So as soon as the music stops, then Fiona, you just power in.
Next time, if you fancy having a live soundtrack,
Anna's the girl.
Oh, okay.
Anna's the lady for it.
Well, right. Well, afterwards, it's okay. That would be brilliant.
Do it first.
yeah.
Oh, are we there? Are you sorted, you two? Tom and Cody.
Yeah.
And Cody.
Yeah.
Frozen again.
Hopefully we're all right.
They're together. I like your hair codes.
Cody, your hair looks really cute.
Does it? I look a bit like you, don't I?
Well, that's why it looks so good.
Right.
That's it. Okay. We're not going to read off mine. We're going to read.
No, we'll read off there.
All right.
The theme tune, guys. Shh.
No,
Okay. Do you want to start with the music then?
Are we ready to start?
Yeah.
Good luck, everyone.
Okay. Here comes the intro music.
As soon as the intro music stops, Fee, you're on.
Previously on Weird William, the big announcement, part 1.
Here's a letter for you. It looks like your mother's handwriting.
Robert opens the envelope and reads the letter to himself. Susan continues to sort the rest of the mail.
Wow, it looks like. So he's inviting us to hers this coming Thursday. She's got something to tell us.
I've received a letter from Gran. She's invited me and Annabelle round to her place on Thursday. Apparently, she's got some announcement to make.
That's it for a bit.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Cynthia's front room, Thursday evening.
Mum, can't you give us a clue why you've invited us here today? I mean, it's lovely to see you, but it's also very intriguing.
Robert, no need to worry. I'm not dying if that's to what you're referring.
Doorbell rings and Cynthia answers the door.
Betty Bab, are you okay? You look a bit peaky, Bab.
Oh, I've just had a very, well, let's say upsetting incident.
Oh, thank goodness. Stanley's here and about time. He'll know how best to advise you, Betty Bab, on your situation.
Look at the bottom of your trousers, Stanley. They're all wet and hanging limp. Sorry, Fee, I stole one of your lines.
Richie gets up and lets Stanley in.
Stanley Oswald, what on earth has been going on?
Episode 3, the big announcement, part 2 continues. The room goes silent and all watch as William pulls the name of the person who will speak first out of the box. Will it be Betty or will it be Stanley?
Give the box a good shake, William. Go on, give it a shake. Make sure all the names are available for selection.
William shakes the box, slowly unfolds the paper containing the name of the person to speak first. Ella appears to have drunk a little too much and her Midland accent turns scared.
She's a method actor.
Okay, and the first person to relate their story this evening is...
Oh, get on with it, porridge brain. You don't know Dermot O'Leary Townsend, the Scouse bloody X Factor winner.
What? The first person to relate their story, Stella, is...
Oh, God, come on, tell him, Mum.
Yes, William, we appreciate the theatrics, but give a thought to Betty and Stanley, nervously waiting in the wings to tell their stories.
It's Betty.
Oh, William, you make it sound as if I've won a BAFTA.
Well, I did start to relate your incident before I got here, Betty. It's only right that you, conclude first,
Spudley, always the gentleman, even naked from the waist down. Knees down.
Can we get on now, or are there prizes and acceptance speeches to be accommodated?
I'm sorry, Simbab. I was just caught up in the moment on account of William's extravagant pronouncement.
Right, so if I may, bring everyone up to speed with Betty's story so far. Right, we know she left the allotment at approximately 4:15 this afternoon, right, to catch the bus home. But the weather was very hot and she was flushed on the account of what she was wearing. You got to remember that. Her thick gardening jumper and those stout walking boots, honestly.
I kept meaning to ask you if you wanted to borrow my unisex gardening hat with the drawstring and toggle to help you keep the sun off the back of your neck, but you seem to be so engrossed with a bit of that weeding you were attending to. It felt like it'd be an intrusion to interrupt your endeavours. You seem to be digging over the same patch for ages, almost as if you were searching for buried treasure.
Budley, I've been gardening long enough to know when I should be covering up, Bab. I take full responsibility for anything that might have happened as a result of a touch of sun. You have nothing to reproach yourself for, although now you come to mention it, I do recall being unusually diligent with that spot of digging.
Upon reaching the bus stop, Betty discovered that it was completely deserted.
And that's unusual. I don't take the bus very often, but on the odd occasion, when I've had, I've got too much produce to carry on my bike, that bus stop is always very busy.
There you go. I said as much before you got here, Spud. However, despite the sun, that bus stop felt unseasonably chilly this afternoon.
Wow, Betty, Bab, your story gets a bit uncertain at this point, as I remember. I think everyone is up to date. So would you like to carry on with your story now?
Okay, Robert. Now let me think. I remember standing at the bus stop and having strange random thoughts. For one, I remember thinking that my feet looked big.
What size feet have you got, Betty? I never thought of your feet as being over generous.
I'm a 7, sometimes 8 if there's no 7.5.
Oh, for a woman of your size, Betty, I don't think you could call your feet petite.
Are they not, Sin? I've never thought of them as an embarrassment or a distraction before. Do you think I've got big feet, Robert?
Well, I would say that the size of your feet is, it's in correct proportion to the rest of you, Betty, but don't worry.
Well, that sounds like you're saying the rest of me is a bit on the chunky side, Robert. Chunky monkey.
Yes, Dad, I think you could have phrased that a bit better. Your feet look in proportion to me, Betty.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Betty. I never intended to offend you, Bab. I think your feet look, fine. It was probably your stag walking boots that, giving the impression you were a bit on the large side.
I would speak about the size of Betty's feet, Robert. You seem to be digging yourself into a bigger hole than Betty was up at the allotment this afternoon.
Call back.
All right, I suppose I might have big feet for a woman of my age, but I've lived with them this long. I can't do much about them now. But I needn't have worried about showing myself up because the bus stop remained deserted.
You sure there wasn't a little cover over the bus stop saying,
Oh.
Bye.
Oh, they're back. They're back. Go again.
Sorry, you sure there wasn't a little cover over the bus stop saying, not in service, Betty?
I don't think so, Richie Bab, because after a while I heard the bus come in, but when I checked, it wasn't the number 5 approaching, it was the number 66.
Oh, that's strange. I've only ever known number 5 frequent that bus stop.
Where does the number 66 bus go then?
I haven't a clue, Susan. I've never even heard of the number 66 route.
Get your kicks on bus 66. Chuck Berry.
I'll give you a kick, Richie. Say you're waiting for that bloody bus.
Do you remember the front of the bus saying final destination, the temple? There was something about the words final destination that sent a shiver right through me.
A bus with an unrecognised number, an uncertain destination display, arriving unexpected at a possibly not in service deserted bus stop. I'm beginning to see why you felt a sense of apprehension, Betty.
Betty Jenkins in the Temple of Doom.
Susan.
It was also a double-decker soon. I can't remember when I last saw one of those in the neck of our woods, and its colour was unfamiliar. It looked a very dark blue, might even have been black.
Ooh.
You say it was going to the temple on the front of the bus. I wonder, could that be the old Temple of Relief outside the Jewellery Centre?
You're talking about the public toilet, Mrs. Harvey. It's a classic example of Victorian cast ironwork built in, when was it built, William?
Give me a moment. It says here in 1883, it was very high on the list of top attractions to visit in Birmingham.
Well, I guess that sums up the place then. A book scoring high on that list of top attractions to visit Brum.
Apparently, it's not open to the public anymore.
It's not.
Even more impressive, a public toilet no longer available to those in need of it.
Pity that, Stella. You could have applied for a front of bulk position.
I know. What's the position? I would have liked to see you take him up in that book, William, preferably after the Cruddy King of Birmingham had paid a visit.
Stella, please, not in mixed company, Bab.
It's probably the jewellery centre that most people are visiting now.
Is that somewhere you frequented often, Gran?
Well, as it's closed now, Richie, not as much as I might have done if it's still been open, like.
I think we're being distracted from Betty's mysterious afternoon. Unless it's relevant, I suggest we leave the Victorian toilet and let Betty carry on with her intriguing story.
Although I watched the bus coming, it never seemed to get any nearer. And then I felt only what I can describe as an unhealthy presence join me at the bus stop. I turned round and there was this tall bloke standing next to me.
Did you recognise him, Betty? Was he someone you felt like you knew, like maybe from the allotment?
No, it wasn't anyone I knew, but he seems to... Oh, sorry.
She's pissed. She's pissed. Ignore her.
It wasn't anyone I knew.
Where are we?
Yeah.
What made you think he knew you?
Because he called me Betty. He said, "Hello, Betty. You catch the bus?"
I hope you asked the bugger who he was and how he came to know your name.
I said, "I'm afraid you have me at an advantage, mister." And I left the customary pause for him to complete my sentence.
Mister.
Did he fill in the blank? Did he tell you his name and how he knew you?
No,
shouting.
Susan. He just smiled at me, made me feel very uncomfortable. And his teeth were less than pristine.
Oh, I should have been there by your side, Betty. If I had been, I would have put some pressure on him to reveal himself.
That might have been a bit awkward, Spud. Asking that bloke to reveal himself, on a deserted bus stop.
Richie, Stanley didn't say expose himself, he said reveal.
Yeah, reveal.
What's the difference?
Point, Richie pulls a hard-boiled egg from his pocket.
What the fuck?
Take this hard-boiled egg, right? I think you will find that I've just revealed it. And at that time, I have exposed it to all of you.
Richie, where did you get that hard-boiled egg from?
It was just...
Oh, on second thoughts, just put it back in your pocket, all right?
All right.
All right. Scout.
South Wales, it's very South Wales.
He was very tall with dark, greasy, slick back hair. And one of those pointy chin beards.
Put it in front of the camera, maybe.
Point of eyebrow over dark piercing eyes. I knew he had to come from the allotment. He didn't carry that distinctive allotment smell.
You put it in front of there. Sorry, hang on. We were just changing screens. Not being a gardener myself, Betty, can you describe what an allotment smell is?
It's not easy, Richie Bab. It's sort of combination of smells. Compost, smelly water butt, smoky bonfire, with a touch of perspiration mostly.
And what smell did he carry, Betty?
Sort of an embalming fluid with a touch of Old Spice.
Oh my God, no wonder you're a bit flustered. The way you described him, Betty, there seems to be more than a touch of Old Spice about him.
Oh, yeah.
He's more Dracula than Old Spice, if I'm honest. Did he have an alabaster hue about his features?
Yeah, he did a bit, yeah. And then I heard the bus stopping. And when I glanced back to the bloke, he'd gone.
Could you see him scampering off in the distance, like?
No, Richie seemed to have vanished into thin air.
No.
But when the doors of the bus did open, it looked to me like the same bloke who was now driving the bus.
Oh, that's weird.
To be honest with you, Betty, you know, that seems the sort of prank Dracula might get up to. Although there's little evidence that Dracula had much of a sense of humour,
Oh my God, I need my brandy myself now. Open the cabinet stand and get the brandy out. Betty's story's giving me the heebie-jeebies.
You didn't get on that bus, did you, Betty? Did you? Tell me you didn't get on.
Oh, I was flustered, Susan. I did get on. But immediately, the driver got right up my nose.
The bus drivers on that route, if I recall correctly, mostly indifferent to paying customers, preferring to ignore the passengers rather than engage with them in conversation. What did he do?
Well, he said, Betty, can I see your bus pass?
Bloody check, addressing you seen in such a way. The warrant's a letter to the bus company.
I agree.
I'd write to the council. What a thing to say to an obvious non-OAP.
I told him straight and in no uncertain terms that I didn't have a bus pass. I was not 65. And then I said, does this bus go anywhere near Holly Grove? But he was evasive.
You should have asked him for some means of identification. Did he have his ID badge hanging around his neck?
All he had round his neck, Susan, was a dirty collar and dirty fingernails. I seem to remember.
It might have been that cave-dwelling taxi driver that drove us to and from the airport, Robert. Scruffy bugger, God knows what beneath his fingernails.
What did he do then? I hope he apologised.
Well, I told him I didn't have a bus pass. He said, "Don't worry, fine will stop the temple." And then someone rang the bell.
I hope you got off straight away, Betty. This wasn't a time to be dithering.
Only I'd known the trouble you were having, Betty. I wouldn't have messed her out planting my tiger nut chuffers. I'd have come and sorted out that bloody bus driver out for you.
Me and our Jim never had any luck with tiger nut chuffers. I don't think we get enough sun in the Midlands.
Only get limited success. Well, if I grow them in deep pots and keep them in greenhouse. Needs lots of watering though.
Oh, tiger nut truffles, yeah. I grew them once, but I didn't like the taste. They're supposed to taste of like almonds and coconut, but I mashed mine down and spread it on toast, but just tasted a bit like spinach, like bitter spinach. So I chucked it all in the bin and never grew them again.
Well, hang on. You know, we appear to be getting further from Betty's experience with these tiger nut chuffer diversion.
According to my gardening app, it's pronounced chufa. A chuffer means something very different, Dad.
And what does this chuffer mean then, William?
Oh, you don't want to know that, Dad.
All right, then, can we please move on?
Come on, Betty. What did you do next? Got straight off that bloody bus, I'm hoping. I'm aggressive.
So I turned to get off, but the doors closed and the bus pulled away. I was trapped on the bloody thing. I had no idea where it was going. I knew that I didn't want to go to that bloody temple, but I had no idea. I had no idea if it was going anywhere near where I was wanting to go.
Did you stay on the lower level, or did you venture up to the top deck for a better view, like?
I just wanted to get off the bloody thing, Richie. So I made my way to the rear of the bus, to where I thought the exciting, exiting door might be. I thought I'd get off at the next stop, no matter where it was, as long as it wasn't that bloody temple.
Do you know what make and number the bus was? Because I could probably track it on my phone app. Because we could identify if it was a bona fide bus.
Do you know what? That would be really helpful, William. But I can't remember much, if anything, about that bus, apart from the fact that it was shrouded in mystery.
Can you remember if the bus driver also smelt of embalming fluid and Old Spice?
Susan, the whole bloody bus smelled of it.
If it was the very popular Spanish manufactured Unisil Intercity double decker, then according to my app, they don't run in the Birmingham area, my mistake.
William, a total waste of space, who bloody cares?
Della, William's only trying to throw a little light on the authenticity of the bus, as Betty appeared to have real concerns about its legitimacy.
Of course, Stella.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we don't have much to go on. Not unless someone rings up the bus depot and, checks one of their buses, stopped at the allotment today around 4:15. With their number, I've gone Australia. With their number,
It says 66 on the front of the bus, Betty. And 666.
Oh.
Annabelle Bab, if 66 is an unusual bus number on that route, why would a 666 be any more logical?
Because it's Lucifer's number, Susan. He's got it tattooed on the back of his head, just beneath his hairline.
I think you're getting fact and fiction mixed up here, Annabelle. I think you're confusing the film The Omen with Betty's situation.
Don't you dare start bringing the devil into the equation, Annabelle. We're bringing enough jeopardy as it is with bloody references to Dracula.
No, Betty's quite right. Let's not start muddying the waters with a satanic intervention. Come on.
So I got quite a way down the bus looking for the exit door, but it seemed to go on forever, and then suddenly I couldn't believe my eyes. I just stood and stared at the apparition that was before me. Apparition before me.
Betty, your eyes are beginning to bulge. Do you feel comfortable in carrying on?
Becoming utterly unbearable. I'm not sure I'll ever feel comfortable travelling on a bus again after Betty's experiences this afternoon.
Go on, Betty. Tell us what you saw. Was it something inexplicably horrible? Did it involve dead people?
They were just sitting along the back seat, just staring at me.
Woohoo!
Slade.
Is your internet a bit slow, Tech?
Bloody slaves, all of them sitting there with their guitars, smiling, except Noddy, he wasn't there.
What the fuck is going on?
Group Slade.
Bloody Slade.
Yes, Slade.
Oh.
Yes, Slade. Noddy Holder.
Apart from smiling, did they say anything to you, Betty?
Yeah, the Baldy one did. Same shivers now, thinking about it. Oh, God.
Did he say anything pertinent to you in your situation, Betty? Or was he just calling out in a ghostly, abstract sort of way? Betty!
Said, Betty, we're all crazy now. And then he said, come and feel my nose.
You sure he didn't say, come on, feel the noise?
Feel the noise, fella?
What's the name of one of their songs, Gran?
Still don't make any sense. Does it make any sense to you, Stan?
Well, I'm in the dark on that one, I'm afraid, Simbab. Although I must admit, I'm not so familiar with the current popular musical trends.
Did they sing or say anything else to you, Betty, that made you think this seems a bit strange?
A bit strange? What part of this bloody story isn't strange? No offence, Betty Bab.
I agree with you, Sim. I asked them if we were the only ones on the bus, and they told me that Shawadi Wadi. They told me that Shawadi Wadi were on the top 10. I didn't bother going on.
Probably just as bloody well, you know. I don't think you would have learnt a lot. Anything new from the original? No.
Where was that then, Mr. Harvey?
So, you know, they were mostly a cover band and about, you know, Betty. What time did you get to the allotment today? And how was your bus journey anyway?
Shawadi, I must have reached the allotment just before noon, Robert, and it was a very normal journey. Although I thought I saw Evan Davis on the bus, but to be fair, I think I did see Evan Davis most morning on that bus. Not sure it's him though, but he's got one of those faces, hasn't he?
You're right, Betty. Our milkman looks like Evan Davis.
You've never been up early enough to catch our milkman, Richie. How do you know he looks like Evan Davis?
They put pictures of all the milkmen in the Gazette, and I know he does our postcode.
I don't think you could be Rich's milkman on your bus, Betty. Not at that time of the morning.
Come on, let's not get bogged down with Evan Bloody Davis. Tell us exactly what you did when you got to the allotment, Betty, all right?
I got to the allotment and made myself a cup of tea. I like to look out onto my plot and take in the view and the quiet solitude of the place with a nice cuppa. I also like to appreciate how all my hard work is developing and like assess what needs attention. There's always something that needs attention on the allotment.
Oh, you're not wrong there, Betty. This week it was my rhubarb that took up most of my time. Digging in manure, getting rid of slugs, spraying for snout beetle.
Oh God, it was Crown Rot that took my rhubarb out last year, as I recall.
Your two horticultural knowledge is amazing. Honestly, it's mind blowing. You should go on Mastermind.
Name: Stanley Oswald. Special subject: gardening, pests, and petulance of the English variety.
Oh.
You're probably going to mention somewhere there in that subject, William.
Well, you know, mate, I must insist we try and stick to the matter in hand here. You know, we keep getting dragged off into some strange, exotic places, which normally, you know, I'll be quite accepting of, but it's just, we're not getting to the bottom of Betty's problem here, so come on.
Sorry, Robert. I should learn when to keep my trap shut about snout beetle. I know it's not necessarily everyone's favourite topic of conversation. True.
Sounds horrible. What's a snout beetle look like? Has it got piggy little face?
Oh, Susan, please, come on. So, Betty, come on. You made a cup of tea. Anything else?
Betty paused in thought, then excitedly answered,
Yes.
Everyone suddenly looks expectantly at Betty. There is a pause as Betty gathers her thoughts.
Oh God, I forgot to bring some sugar with me. I can't drink tea without a spoonful of sugar.
Is that all? Oh, you left me quite deflated, Betty Bab. For a moment, I thought you had remembered something significant. That might have thrown me more light in your strange afternoon.
I would have borrowed some from Spudley, but he wasn't on his flat.
I was there later than usual today because I was adjusting the spring on the cat flap. The thing was too loose. I'd be getting all sorts of strange cats coming in. So I tightened the spring, but unfortunately I overdid it. And when Nathan Jones tried to use it, he was giving himself a concussion and a touch of whiplash.
I'm assuming Nathan Jones is your cat, Stanley, and not one of those contortionist fellows who can enter a property via a letterbox or a cat flap.
Impressive contortionist getting through that cat flap, which, especially with a spring in that condition.
Why is your cat called Nathan Jones, Spud?
I used to call him Jonesy for reasons that escape me now. And then one day he disappeared, and we'd gone for the best part of a year. And I thought he was a goner. And although he used to piss me off, like I missed the bugger when he wasn't there anymore. And about a year after, totally unexpected, he came back. So I thought it was appropriate to rename him Nathan Jones after the song "Oh Nathan Jones, You've Been Gone Too Long."
Oh, here we go again. I'm not sure this excursion into Spud's feline activities is shedding any more light regarding Betty's unusual afternoon, than his snout beetle did anyway.
Everyone looks a little awkward and people mumble.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I am sorry.
Yeah, I keep going on.
The only people on the allotment was those bloody Londoners making preparations for their afternoon jacuzzi session. So I took my teaspoon and I asked if there was any sugar that they could let me have.
Were they accommodating, Betty?
Yeah. After joking for a while, singing "Spoonful of sugar helps the gardening go down," they gave me a sugar lump.
Only one? Tight London sods.
It's okay, Susan. I only wanted one. I mean, I didn't need any more.
And you went back to the shed and you put the sugar in your tea?
I did, Robert, but I still couldn't warm to them despite of their hospitality. They're not what I would call allotment folk. Didn't enjoy the tea much either. I think that bloody sugar might have been stale.
Did you notice any strangers after drinking the tea, Betty?
Now you come to mention it, Robert, looking back, I did start acting a little strangely. I finished the tea and then straight away I felt an urge to eliminate all the weeds from my patch. But the more weeds I found, the more weeds I cleared, the more I found. I remember digging the same spot for ages. Ended up with quite a big hole, but all I could see was bloody weeds in it. Do you think they might have slipped me a Mickey with the sugar? Do you?
A bloody Mickey thing. It's very possible, Betty. It would explain the wild dreams, the Dracula and Slade hallucinations. You'll be feated as bust up, not to mention your erratic weeding.
Boggers. Excuse my language, people, but slipping an unsuspecting gardener a Mickey fib, that's just beyond the pale.
What's a Mickey Finn, William?
You don't know, Annabelle, but I've got this app, fucking nerd, which explains some of the weird things old people say. No offence, Bessie.
William, it means...
Just a moment, Dad. One moment, Dad. Oh, well, that makes sense. A Mickey Finn, according to this app, refers to the act of slipping someone a drug into their drink. The term originated in America in the early 1900s. Mickey Finn was a bar owner who used to use the drug in his customers.
It's a drug in his customers?
It's a drug in his customers.
Okay. Do you think I should go to the police, Robert?
Wow, what could you prove now, Betty Bab?
Don't worry, Betty. I don't think we'll be inconvenienced by those London dwellers anytime soon. But you should brace yourself, Bab. There's going to be a lot of roughness to encounter before the smoothness of normal gardening will be resumed.
This has all been really disturbing, actually, and it's left me feeling somewhat vulnerable. But I think you're right, Robert. I've been on an LSD trip.
On the way.
I just thought, well, it hasn't encouraged me to try hard drugs again, that's for sure.
Definitely not if bloody Slade are going to keep making an appearance.
No. We reckon Betty's traumatic afternoon was a result of one of those London dwellers slipping her a Mickey. Can you believe it? Right here in Bromsgrove. Stanley, it's called for a brandy top-ups all round.
You'll be getting us all pickled, Gran, if you go into this race.
Better soak it up with some nibbles then. I'll go fetch them from the kitchen.
Oh, Tanya's got Australian too.
Room soon return to the food trolley, with sandwiches, crisps, and a sherry trifle, plates, dessert dishes, and spoons.
That's a lovely presented hostess trolley you've got there, Sin.
Oh, here we go again. The hostess versus host conundrum.
Now, don't you start bringing Barry's bend over bar back into this conversation again, Richie. Or was it William?
It was William.
I only introduced Barry's bend over bar into the conversation earlier to add color and clarification regarding the host versus hostess discussions. Thank you.
But Barry still wouldn't have had any use for a hostess trolley, William.
Nor a bloody host trolley either. If such an item exists, anyway, come on, how you two know so much about this Barry and his bend over club?
I don't know anything about this place, Stella. Honest, I've only encountered its dark allure on Collie Bickley's stag night. None of us went in there though. We walked past. Although I do think Adrian was tempted, but the bloke on the door said he couldn't come in wearing pimps on.
Can we leave Richie's activities down the bend over bar for a moment? And let's get stuck into the refreshments. I've tried to cater to everyone's taste. On the top level, I've prepared tinned meat sandwiches, corned beef or spam, and a jar of bovril should anyone fancy spicing them up a bit. Second level fish, but don't go looking for salmon or prawns though. And on the bottom, vegetarian, lettuce, sliced red onions and tomatoes mostly.
Ticked over it and without too much enthusiasm. Robert gets things moving again.
Right, Stan, you're on.
Sorry, Robert. What am I on like?
Well, finish your catastrophic encounter that resulted in your trousers becoming all wet.
Oh, okay. Well, strange as it might seem, the same people responsible for Betty's unfortunate hallucinating experiences today are firmly in the hot seat regarding the turn of events that befell me in my trousers and the allotment after Betty had left.
Bloody Londoners! Why don't they stay and cause havoc in their own neck of the woods instead of coming up here giving us grief? If my Jim had been hadn't been so tragically taken from us like he was, those bloody Londoners wouldn't even be anywhere near Bromsgrove.
The council should have some excuse me. The council should have some specific criteria that should be satisfied before London yuppies are allowed to invade hard-working Bromsgrove folks' recreational areas and start splashing about in jacuzzis.
Talking about adding insult to injury, not only turning Jim's plot into a rich man's playground, they're also responsible for upsetting my two best friends in one afternoon. Go on, Stan, tell us what happened.
Well, as you know, Betty, even before you left, the shouting and laughing coming from plot 7, not to mention the flying champagne corks, was seriously disturbing the usual calm of the place.
You're not wrong, Woodley. It was the principal reason that have made me pack up and go home than I normally would have. Although due to that sugar lump, I'm not sure if I was achieving much this afternoon.
I've never experienced the out of body feeling from a drug overdose. Never. Must be quite nice, isn't it? Is it still me?
Stella.
No,
Stella.
Oh. Are you sure, Richie, you live your life in a perpetual state of oblivion? Have you forgotten what happened after coming back from the dentist? after he gave you Novocaine?
I don't remember Stelly, but Stella, but did I let myself down?
Because your mouth was still numb. You thought the dentist had taken all your teeth out. I had a devil of a job stopping you going back to get him out and put him back in.
Well, I must admit, it would have been a bit scary because we were going through the rest of my life without any teeth.
William, do you remember when I tried one of your skinny cigarettes for the first time?
William looks a little awkward.
Don't think so, Annabelle.
You must do. Don't you remember when I could suddenly recite the names of all the goldfish I had as a child? I couldn't do that now.
William, what have you been up to? Couldn't you name all the fish you had as a child after one of your skinny cigarettes?
I don't smoke skinny cigarettes anymore. Those special cigarettes are a thing of the past. But I don't even remember having any fish when I was little.
No, I don't suppose you do. The only fish you recognised as back then was covered in batter, literally sprinkled with salt and vinegar.
Ooh, a nice piece of cod lightly battered on a Friday evening for us tea. Ooh, you can keep your spaghettis, egg fried rice and Rogan Josh's. Just give me fish and chips anytime.
Stanley, please. Don't make me feel bad about the state of this evening's spread. I thought a nice selection of sandwiches would have been sufficient this evening. I thought you'd all probably had your teas by 7:30.
Well, I was just reminiscing, but you know, all that talk of fish made my mouth water. But your trolley has everything you could wish for in an evening snack after you had your tea, like, you know.
What did you actually have for your tea then, Spud? Because your trousers were so wet. I guess you haven't been home for anything to eat.
Oh, you're quite right, Betty, in your assumption. I haven't had my tea this evening, but to be honest with you, this afternoon events of the allotment will only killed my appetite stone dead.
Wow, man, your trolley spread is, perfectly judged. So anyway, Stan, when you're ready, maybe you should finish off the old allotment story.
Well, I'm not sure how to wrap this up in cotton wool for you, Betty Babs, so I better just tell you how it is, warts and all.
Dudley, this day is hopefully one I will never have to revisit. So as painful as it might turn out to be, let's just get it over and done with.
Okay. Well, the London Dwellers party was in full swing when the other two guests arrived. Two big, boisterous girls, And I was thinking, it's going to get very interesting watching two more squeeze into that jacuzzi.
And did they, Stanley? Did they squeeze into the jacuzzi?
They did, Richie. First, they disappeared into Jim's shed, and when they re-emerged, they had little skimpy gold bikinis covering the only what they touched, which didn't look like a knot from where I was.
Well, I hope you weren't just standing there gawping at them with your gob hanging open.
Oh, don't worry, Sid. I was in my shed, down behind the broccoli.
Stanley, I'm not sure if that don't sound worse. Crouching down behind the broccoli, observing the boisterous girls negotiating the jacuzzi.
And did they have a struggle squeezing in, Spud?
Richie, put your tongue away and stop dribbling.
I'm just asking.
I have to say that the boisterous girls, they were very nimble, but it did look a bit of a squeeze in there. And although I said that they were nimble, I mean, you couldn't call it a graceful entry.
As the actress said to the bishop.
I didn't mean.
Now, Betty, no snottiness this evening.
Me,
I told Richie the same thing when he wanted us to have a jacuzzi. You just can't get in and out of them without lowering your guard, so to speak.
Music seemed to be getting louder and louder. They were singing and skylarking about. And then one of them shouted, "Mexican wave!" Oh, well, I believe the chaos will likely follow hard on the heels of a Mexican wave, especially when being executed in a confined space.
Well, I've never really, known how a coordinated Mexican wave begins. If I jumped up with my hands in the air, on the odd occasion I find myself at a villa game and shouted Mexican wave.
It's no TV.
I'd probably have, 6 rows of people staring at me, the steward telling me to, take a seat, and the public can have some order me of ejection from the ground.
I've actually always wondered how you stop a Mexican wave in a case of emergency. If someone was taken ill in the middle of a robust Mexican wave, how would you attract the attention of the first bloke? Jumping up and waving, it wouldn't work, would it? It wouldn't work.
Betty is right. The first aid bloke would probably just think you're a bit uncoordinated in your Mexican waving. A fast-moving Mexican wave is a bit like a runaway train. It would just Mexican wave all over the emergency and continue on its way. I don't know how you'd stop it.
Come on, Stan, finish your old story, lad. This jacuzzi Mexican wave has left a bad taste in my mouth.
Maybe a bit too much Bovril in your spam sandwich, Gran.
Wish you never leave home without that sign I made for you to wear around your neck.
What sign was that, Stella?
The sign that says harmless, but ultimately very disappointing. Sorry, Stan, for the interruption.
Right. I forgot where I was again.
One of those London dwellers starting a Mexican wave.
All right, yes. I don't think that jacuzzi is designed for, that's not what they're designed for, Mexican wave, but it didn't stop them trying.
On my old plot, a Mexican wave and a jacuzzi. Never thought I'd ever say Mexican wave and a jacuzzi in the same sentence when referring to Jim's old plot.
Very well, that jacuzzi. That Mexican wave looked out of control to me.
I suppose in a tight spot like a jacuzzi, stopping a Mexican wave even more difficult than starting one. No one wants to kill the joy that stops it.
The water was beginning to splash over the sides onto the veranda, and then I noticed that the 6x4 struts holding the front of the veranda was beginning to shift under the uneven stresses being created by the Mexican wave.
Didn't the London dwellers notice that the jacuzzi's Mexican wave was undermining the veranda's support structure?
I think they'd also been taking the sugar lumps with their tea, William, yeah? Anyhow, as the support beams moved, so did the veranda. And as the veranda moved, so did the south-facing side of Jim's shed that was attached to it.
Oh,
Don't tell me they were causing damage to my Jim's shed, Stan.
More than just damage, I'm afraid, Sid. Suddenly, the veranda and its 2 supports collapsed, and the jacuzzi was left dangling by electric cables at a precarious angle.
Well, I suppose that's one way to stop a Mexican wave.
And then there was a loud bang and a flash from inside Jim's shed, and the cable came free, and the veranda and the jacuzzi and the 6 London dwellers still inside crashed to the ground. But the jacuzzi fell inside and started rolling down on the little slope.
Straight towards our plot, Stan.
Yes, Betty. And by this time, the water was cascading down the slope too, along with the London dwellers, who seemed to be falling out of it in some sort of coordinated order with each roll of the jacuzzi.
Right, but the girls were they moaning and trying to extricate themselves in a dignified manner, Stan?
I said it before, I'll say it again. There's no easy way out of a jacuzzi without making a spectacle of yourself.
Especially when it's coming down a hill or along a bloody slope on an allotment.
Especially when it's rolling down a slope on an allotment.
Next thing I noticed, above all the commotion, was a fire had started inside Jim's shed.
Oh, my poor Jim. Will the indignities to the poor man never cease?
Quickly called 999 at the house for a full house. Police, ambulance, fire brigade. Now, I don't think the woman will answer my call. Believe me, the numbers of the questions she asked, not to mention the tone of her voice.
6 half-drowned near-naked people, still probably dizzy from the sugar lumps, champagne and the Mexican waving, rolling out of control jacuzzi and a shed on fire. Not an everyday occurrence.
The fire brigade arrived first, and soon their water was adding to that was escaping from the jacuzzi, which cascaded down into mine and Betty's allotment. But at least it put out the fire of what was left of poor old Jim's shed.
This reminds me of my great-great-grandmother, who used to go well hunting.
Not just now, and about that. Let's hear the end of Stanley's tale of woe. Come on, give him a chance.
3 ambulances and the police They arrived together. The London dwellers had blankets thrown over them and they were out onto the ambulances. I'm sure what their injuries were. On the ambulances. I'm not sure what their injuries were. But he took a statement from me.
Ambulances.
I wonder if we would be charged with disturbing the peace.
More likely charge of being out of control in an overcrowded jacuzzi whilst under the influence.
Anna.
You have a nice time.
You have a nice time, Anna.
Spudley, what was left of the allotment?
Sarah Miss Betty Bab. Anything substantial was crushed by the jacuzzi, and anything the cascading water did the rest.
How about our sheds?
Just take mine out.
Tried to rescue as much as possible, but yours was locked. Couldn't do much with yours, I'm afraid. The water just flooded them.
Richie.
Where? Cody,
sorry.
Cody hasn't moved the laptop. I don't know what's going on. Where are we?
Where are we?
End of page 18.
Sorry, Spud. You okay, Stella Bab? Your eyes have gone all watery.
Well, what?
Distressed.
Food before.
How deep did it get?
Well,
what?
I don't know where I'm going,
It's Fiona. It's Fiona.
Stella looks a little in distress, but she reaches towards Richie and squeezes his knee.
I'm okay, Richie Bab. Poor Betty and Stan, all your hard work.
The water even unearthed me King Edward's, and one of the boisterous latecomers did for me gooseberries. Although I suspect the gooseberries gave as good as they got, like.
Suddenly, Stella gets up and rushes out of the room. Everybody looks at each other.
I'll go see what the problem is. Robert, top up everyone's glasses.
Cynthia's back garden. Cynthia finds Stella sitting on her garden steps that lead down to her lawn. Cynthia joins her on the steps, but struggles to get down next to her.
Oh, I'm getting far too long in the tooth to be sitting down on these steps, Stella. It's hard enough just walking up and down them some days.
Stella doesn't seem to notice down next to her.
Oh, hello, Gran. You didn't have to come out. I just needed a moment.
What's upsetting you, Stella Bab? Nothing you've heard this evening can't be put right with a bit of effort.
When are we going to get some good news, Gran? Everything in my life at the moment is pretty shit. And Stanley's story about Grandad's shed, well, it just made me realise how much I miss him. I can't seem to see my way round at the moment. I'm beginning to hate my life. I've got no prospects. Just a life full of disappointments and nothing really to look forward to.
Puts her arm around Stella's shoulders.
You know, I've watched you and William both grow up to become fine young people, despite your mum and dad's best efforts. But you've both done it in very different ways.
Don't tell me that William got it right, Gran. I'm the only one who's buggered it all up.
When you were both much younger, maybe 6 or 7, we used to watch you and William play catch with your mum and dad in the back garden.
Yes, I remember. We played catch most weekends after our tea, and I was bloody useless at that, as I recall.
Stella, both you and mum and dad were rotten throwers. Very rarely was a ball thrown by either of them that was actually catchable.
William seemed to be able to catch them all right.
The main difference between you and William was you tried to catch every ball that your mum or dad threw your way, even balls sailing 4 foot or more over your head. You wouldn't jump at everything they threw at you. No matter how out of reach the ball was, you would be diving to your left and your right, trying so hard to catch the uncatchable, but just getting redder and more tired in the process, to the point that when one of them actually threw a ball that by pure luck was catchable, but you were so puff out and not expecting it that you dropped that one too.
But William made his catches and he never got tired and red in the face.
That's because the one sailing over his head, or 4 foot to the left or to the right of him, or the ones destined to go over to next door neighbour's fence, he didn't bother with. He just watched them sail by with a look of contempt on his face. The only running he did was going through the gap in the neighbour's hedge to fetch the ball back. But subsequently, when your mum or dad got one right and it actually went towards him, He was fresh enough to catch it.
While I sat on the grass moaning and looking like I was a bad sport. Why are you telling me this, Gran?
Because that game of catch ball is much like your life, Stella Bab. You're still trying to catch something that at present is not catchable. And the more you ever reach yourself, well, the more tired and despondent you get. Only reach for the ones that you're capable of catching. And as you get better, you can try for the more difficult balls. Do you see what I'm getting at, Bab?
You're talking about being front of house, Gran, the clean away thing, and now that's executive buff career.
Little steps, Stella. And when you've developed a firm foundation from which to gradually go forward to those big steps, well, you'll be surprised how much enjoyable your life will seem. Now, let me get off this bleeding hard step before my IBS comes back. Go and do your eyes and get back in the front room. I've still got a bloody announcement to make, and no one's going home until I've said it.
Thanks, Gran. I feel so much better after listening to you. Maybe I'm not as much as a failure as I thought, just going through the things the wrong way. I'm determined to make some changes in my life there along the lines you suggested.
Stella leans towards her Gran and kisses her. Up with a spring in her step and goes in to rejoin you.
That girl would never change. Oh, bugger, my backside's beginning to itch again.
Front room, still Thursday evening. Everyone is now gathered and talking amongst themselves. The various conversations are raising the volume in the room. Cynthia gets to her feet and taps her glass with a spoon. The noise quietens down. Only Richie appears to not have noticed and continues his conversation with Betty.
And as it turned out, it wasn't the IBS at all. It was just a diagnosis of an itchy backside.
Everyone stares at Richie and Richie looks embarrassed.
I wasn't referring to anyone here. I'm honest, Gran.
I'm not sure if itchy backsides are a suitable conversation topic for an evening such as we are having tonight, Richie lad.
Right.
Even if you weren't referring to anyone here present.
No, it was Barry Moffat. He's always had trouble with his.
Yes, Richie, we get the picture, Bab. Unfortunately.
Yeah, all right.
Wow, now we're all back in the room and our glasses have been charged. Come on.
Sorry, Robert, but no one's been charged anything this evening. I've invited you all, so it's only fair that I pick up the tab.
I'm very generous too, mate.
Betty.
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 Betty. Betty.
Bertie. It's all done on an old age pension, of course. It's the old uns. Those who watch the pennies allow the odd extravagant gesture like sins to be enjoyed for the many, by the many, for the many, by the many.
What the fuck?
Bit like Jesus feeding the 5,000.
Yeah.
I don't think he was doing it on an old age pension, though, Annabelle.
Robert didn't live long enough to draw a pension, I don't think. You listening?
No. Did he not, Richie?
No, it was all done on carpenter's wages, although I suspect he might have been putting a little bit aside each week. 5,000 is a lot to cater for.
I thought his dad had I thought his dad had a hand in providing the refreshments, Richie.
Well, of course, he was a chippy too, if I recall, as I've just said, he's a carpenter. So maybe they were both putting something aside each week. So, for such an occasion, rainy day.
I think William is referring to miracles, Richie. Jesus didn't just pop to the nearest budgeons for bread and wine. God provided it. I don't think cash was involved.
Well, I hope he had a suitably sharp blade. Or do you think God provided the filleting knife as well?
I don't know, Richie. Unfortunately, I was not one of the 5,000.
Right, everyone, please. Can I call the evening to order?
Well,
Matt,
okay.
Can you give us your announcement now? We're already into an extra time. And for those of us who are not old pensioners or still studying, tomorrow's another working day.
Cynthia swallows back her drink and stands to make her announcement.
Thank you, Robert. And thanks everyone for joining me this evening for my belated announcement to you all.
The applause is for effect.
Oh, before I start, Stanley, could you come and stand next to me, please?
There's a little murmur of surprise as Stanley gets up and moves.
Oh, what's that about? That's going to be something. I don't know about it. Yeah, I don't know. You're going to be nervous to be talking about it.
Stanley, roll those bloody gardening trousers down. You look a bit too much like Gandhi with both legs on display.
Sorry, Sinbad. There you go. They're a bit creased, but I think I've lost the Gandhi look now.
Gandhi would probably have had the high watermark on his legs if the allotment had flooded Span. On account of him not being able to afford trousers, he wore a little roti-joti. And his legs probably would have been quite dusty from all the strolling around the Punjab.
Thank you, Richie. Well, Jim will have been gone 7.5 years tomorrow. I know it don't seem possible, does it? And although he's been constantly by my side during that time, on the sideboard like, he's not been much of a conversationist these past 7 years, although it has cut down on arguments.
Everyone.
I think it's time to make a few changes.
Leans towards Robert and whispers in his ear.
I told you it was a scattering. Just not sure where now, though. Can't be the allotment after today's revelations.
So last weekend, I asked Stanley if he would marry me. I haven't told you what his reply was yet.
Oh God.
Cynthia laughs and puts his arm around her.
He said yes,
What else could I say? He asked to have a share in Cynthia's life.
Who are you sharing her with, Spud?
Look on the sideboard, Richie lad. I'm not here to replace my mate Jim.
That's nice.
Mr. Harvey's staying on the sideboard then, Gran, is he?
Where else would you expect him to be? After all, he can't shuffle off on his own, even if he wanted to, can he, Bab?
Betty.
Stanley Oswald, come here and give a kiss. Oh, yeah. What a wonderful way to end the evening. I am so over the moon for both of you.
Well, and so am I, you know, and I guess I'm going to have to get used to calling you Mrs. Oswald from now on, Mum.
You daft toilet brush, Robert. When did you last call me Mrs. Harvey?
Only on Christmas and birthday card envelopes, Mum.
Let's not bring that topic up, Susan. Not tonight, Bab.
Hang on a minute. Who said Sim will be changing her name to mine? I'd be quite happy to change mine to hers.
What a nice gesture, Stan. Mr. Stanley Harvey. It's got a nice ring to it. Not that Cynthia Oswald hasn't.
You could both go. You could go all modern and have like a double-barreled name. That'd be really posh. Be classy, wouldn't it?
Classy.
Yeah, classy.
Classy.
I don't think that'd be such a good idea, Betty.
Why is that then, William? Ain't Stan and me posh enough for a double-barreled last name then?
Right on the pair of yous. If you don't want to put double-barreled name surname, you bloody well should have one.
I was just thinking that Harvey Oswald is probably not the best surname to carry around with you, unless you have to.
Oh, really? It's still Thursday. Cynthia and Stanley are washing up the dirty cups, plates and glasses. All the others have left.
What a day, Sin. How you feeling, Bab? Any regrets?
No regrets, Stanley. Do you want to stay over tonight?
Oh,
It's very tempting, Sinbad, but I think my bike stuck in your edge overnight might give your neighbours something to gossip about in the morning.
that it would.
I haven't even put a ring on your finger yet. I'll be time enough for that malarkey when I make an honest woman of you. Where's this glass bowl for you keep the nuts going, love?
Goes on the sideboard, Stan, next to Jim.
Jesus.
You, me, and Jim. Well, if that don't get tons wagging, I don't know what will.
Betty's home, still Thursday, even later. Betty enters her empty house and goes into the kitchen. She talks out loud to herself.
Monologue.
I hate monologues. What an evening. What do them Londoners slipping me a Mickey? Well, at least some means I'm not losing my marbles. I suppose I better go and inspect the damage tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to it that much. Betty Jenkins, you are pleasantly pissed, my girl. Haha.
JK.
Sleep well, JK. I'll sleep well tonight though. As long as bloody Slade don't make an appearance. My feet still look a bit big. Maybe it's these slippers. I still can't see what was wrong with my suggestion of a double-barreled name for Sin and Spudley. Cynthia and Stanley Harvey Oswald.
That's good. That's a good name.
William's bedroom, still Thursday, even later still. William and Annabelle are talking.
I always feel a bit on edge when I stay over, William.
Why is that then? Shut up.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Why is that?
What? Why is that then? Mom and Dad are perfectly happy with the situation.
They might be, but I'm not sure I am.
We're only going to sleep, Annie. I'm not going to risk placing you in an embarrassing situation in the morning at breakfast.
But it is a bit embarrassing for me, though.
I don't see why.
I find it embarrassing lying here next to you, listening to your mom and dad, mostly your mom, if truth be told, making all that noise next door.
You don't have to worry that tonight. It's not a Friday.
Stella and Richie's home, now very early Friday morning. Richie has switched on the television.
Richie, you don't know what time it is, don't you? Why have you put the telly on at this time of night for?
It's the twilight time that interests me, Stella. When I'm not normally awake, it's interesting to see what the Twilight people watch on TV at this time of night.
The Twilight people. Oh, God knows what they are watching the same crap that you watched a month ago, just bloody repeats at this time of night.
Do you think so? What time do you start work tomorrow, Bab?
It's not an early start. I won't be back till late though. So unless you want to sit up with the Twilight people again waiting for me, I suggest you go to bed at your normal time.
Where are you going tomorrow?
Hampton Court, Maze in the afternoon and a wander around the house, and Dr. Hook performing in the evening in the grounds.
I like Dr. Hook. Have they got any tickets left? Maybe I could sneak onto the coach unnoticed, like in the luggage compartment.
I will be working, Richie. I couldn't risk being compromised by you sneaking around anywhere tomorrow. Anyway, the coach is full.
Is it an executive trip this time? Like an executive bus?
Stella sounds excited.
Woo! It is.
Hey, I'm pleased.
It is. I've had confirmation that my executive driver is feeling better and will be available to drive the executive bus tomorrow.
What's his name?
William Stroker, I think.
You're joking. William Stroker?
No, I'm not. That's his name. Do you know him then?
No, I don't, but I'm not sure what to do with a name like that.
What's wrong with his name? It's better than being called Thick Eddie.
I would rather be known as Thick Eddie rather than Willie Stroker. You know what I mean? And will it be with executive passengers this time?
I'm hoping so, although I know the Doctor Hook, the main attraction. I'm beginning to have my doubts. I'm not sure Doctor Hook will be an executive enough for the executive passengers.
Well, let's hope for the best, and that you and this Willie Stroker have a nice afternoon and evening.
Oh, I've just got it. Willie Stroker.
Robert and Susan's home very early Friday morning. Robert and Susan have arrived home.
Wow, that was some evening.
You can certainly say that again. My backside feels as if I've been sitting through Gone with the Wind.
Well, after those spam and bovril sandwiches, I think the wind's still probably hanging around. But I think Mum and Stan will be okay. I've got a good feeling about the pair of them getting together,
I'm sure they needed to get married, though. Has he been married before?
Yeah, confirmed bachelor, as I understand it.
Well, not so confirmed now, it seems.
No, apparently not.
At least there'll be no unexpected worms crawling out of the woodwork, making fraudulent claims on their estate when the time comes.
Honestly, the way your mind works, Susan, especially when love is in the air. What do you like?
All that romance this evening, Robert, made me, well,
No, what?
Robertly bobbly.
Oh, are you sure, Susan? I need to be off of work tomorrow, don't forget, and it's not a Friday.
Well, there's just no spontaneity with you, Robert Harvey.
It's Thursday, Susan, and I've got to drag the bins out, before you go off to bed.
I rest my case, Robert. Never mind. You go and do the bins.
What are you going to do then?
What I always do when the mood takes me and it's not a Friday. Fly solo.
Rinse. Good, Dave. Very good.
Really get that.
Loving this theme tune, Dave.
What's the song so we can.
What is the song, Dave?
I want to see the
Tonight. Richard Thompson.
I'm going to stop the recording. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Oh wait, no.